March 21st, 2025. A single contract announcement quietly sets off a chain reaction worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Each 47 fighter jet is estimated to cost $300 million a unit, roughly 3 times the price of an F-35, and the United States Air Force wants nearly 200 of them. The X-plane prototype has been flying in secret since 2019. Boeing just won the largest fighter contract in modern American history, and the cumulative bill is already approaching $8.5 billion before a single production jet has left the hangar. This is the money behind the 47, where it's going, who's cashing the checks, and whether the math actually works for taxpayers or the defense industry banking on it. To understand where the money is going, you first need to understand what the 47 is replacing and why the Air Force says there's no other choice. The F-22 Raptor is still, in most serious assessments, the most capable air superiority fighter in the world. The problem is, that may not be true for much longer. The Raptor was designed in the 1980s and 1990s for a European theater against a Soviet adversary that no longer exists. Its combat radius is roughly 590 nautical miles. The standard aviation distance measurement fine when the likely fight was over central Germany, but a serious problem when the likely fight is over the Taiwan Strait, where bases are scattered across the Pacific and tankers become targets the moment a war starts. The 47 is being built around a combat radius greater than 1,000 nautical miles, a top speed above Mach 2 twice the speed of sound, and a deep strike stealth profile that lets it operate inside contested airspace without constant refueling. That gap, 590 versus 1,000 nautical miles, is the single number that drives the entire program's justification. And the other side of the map hasn't been standing still. China is fielding the J-20B, an upgraded version of its first stealth fighter. The J-35 is entering service as a carrier-capable stealth jet. And the J-36, which has emerged in flight testing, is widely assessed as a sixth-generation heavy bomber or penetrating strike aircraft. Russia has the Su-57M in limited production and the Su-75 concept in development. The strategic picture the Pentagon is staring at is not a theoretical one. This is the environment that drove the program forward. DARPA launched the Aerospace Innovation Initiative in 2014 to build X-plane prototypes. In 2015, then Under-Secretary of Defense Frank Kendall formally started what became the Next Generation Air Dominance Program, known as NGAD. And in early 2025, when the Air Force ran an internal study to see if there was any cheaper path to air superiority, Major General Joseph Kunkel summed up the conclusion bluntly at an Air and Space Forces Association symposium. They tried, he said, a whole bunch of different options, and there was no more viable option than NGAD to achieve air superiority in this highly contested environment. So the Air Force set out to build something the world had never seen. The question wasn't whether they could, it was whether anyone could afford it. Here's where the numbers start to get uncomfortable. Once you lay out the full budget picture, year by year, line by line, a pattern emerges that even the Air Force's own officials couldn't ignore. Start with the contract itself. The Engineering and Manufacturing Development Deal, the EMD phase, awarded to Boeing on March 21st, 2025 is estimated at roughly $20 billion. And that's just the portion that takes the design from prototype through manufacturing ready. Across the full life of the program, Boeing is in line to receive hundreds of billions in orders. Now layer on the annual asks. For fiscal year 2026, 2025 through September 2026, the Air Force requested nearly $3.5 billion to keep 47 work moving, $2.6 billion in discretionary funds plus $900 million pulled from the Republican-led reconciliation bill. For fiscal year 2027, the request climbs to $5 billion, all from baseline discretionary funding. Add those together and the cumulative total reaches roughly $8.5 billion by the end of the current financial year. That's the number sitting on the table before a single production aircraft has been delivered. And that is only the research and development side. The Air Force wants 185 plus 47s. At the current per-unit estimate of $300 million, a fleet of 200 aircraft lands at $60 billion before cost overruns, budget increases beyond original estimates before sustainment, before the inevitable scope changes that every major defense program absorbs over a 30-year life cycle. Analyst Roman Schweizer of TD Cowen has estimated the Air Force plans to spend about $19 billion on NGAD over the next 5 years alone. There's a reason the program was paused in May 2024. Kendall himself halted it when projected unit costs climbed to 3 times the price of an F-35. For roughly 9 months, the most important fighter program in the country sat frozen while officials tried to figure out whether the math could survive contact with reality. What restarted it was not a breakthrough in cost control. It was the conclusion that nothing cheaper would do the job. $8.5 billion committed, and the plane hasn't even flown yet. So who exactly is building it, and can they actually pull it off? You might be wondering why Boeing. They haven't built a stealth fighter. Lockheed Martin builds the F-22 and the F-35. Northrop Grumman built the B-2 and is building the B-21 Raider. So how did Boeing end up with the most valuable fighter contract in modern American history? Part of the answer is that the NGAD competition was almost entirely invisible from the outside. Unlike the Joint Strike Fighter fly-off in the early 2000s, where Boeing and Lockheed demonstrated aircraft in public, NGAD played out behind closed doors. The only significant public disclosure came in 2020, when the Air Force confirmed that at least one X-plane demonstrator had already flown. Boeing had actually flown its demonstrator a year earlier, in 2019. Northrop Grumman dropped out of the running in 2023. That left Boeing and Lockheed as the final two, and Boeing won. The industrial logic is worth sitting with. Andrew Hunter, the former Air Force acquisition executive, put it plainly: if Boeing was going to stay a viable fighter builder going forward, they had to win this competition. Lockheed would keep the F-35 production line running for decades. Boeing, without NGAD, would have been left with only the 15EX, a capable but limited upgrade of a 50-year-old airframe. The Washington Post noted that awarding the contract to Boeing also diversified the production of U.S. military jets, a defense industrial base consideration, preserving manufacturing capacity across multiple contractors that almost certainly weighed on the decision. Then there's the physical bet. Boeing committed roughly $1.8 billion to a new advanced manufacturing facility in St. Louis, next to Lambert International Airport, built around digital engineering, computer-aided design and manufacturing, and clean sheet fighter production, a completely new aircraft design rather than an upgrade. Steve Parker, interim CEO of Boeing Defense, Space and Security, described it as the most significant investment in the history of their defense business. In February 2026, Boeing formally relocated its defense, space, and security headquarters to the St. Louis site. As of early 2026, Boeing employs around 18,000 people in the St. Louis region and indirectly supports more than 30,000 jobs in the surrounding aviation economy. Not all of that came without friction. The state of Missouri granted $155 million in tax breaks, tied to a commitment of 500 new high-paying jobs, a trade that drew pushback from local watchdogs. The Peace Economy Project asked pointedly, while some celebrate $20 billion in defense contracts and a state-of-the-art digital aerospace campus, at what cost are these developments being made? And in the middle of all this, Boeing's IAM District 837 union workers went on strike in September 2025 over the defense unit's contract. That strike didn't end until November 2025, just weeks after the Air Force confirmed that manufacturing of the first 47 had already begun that September. The contract is signed, the factory is being built, billions are flowing. But not everyone thinks this is money well spent, and some of the sharpest critics are the people who ran the program in the first place. For every general who calls the 47 a necessity, there's a budget analyst or a former Air Force secretary with a spreadsheet that tells a different story. Frank Kendall, who started NGAD in 2015 and paused it in 2024, wrote an op-ed in Defense News in April 2025 that anyone following the program should read carefully. Over the next 5 years, Kendall warned, the 47 program will require tens of billions of dollars in additional funding. At this point, he wrote, With all the other demands on the Air Force budget, including recapitalizing two legs of the nuclear triad, it's unclear whether this administration, or the next, will be able to continue this program. His argument was not that the 47 is a bad aircraft. It was that the affordability analysis required to commit to it had not been convincingly completed. If you find yourself chasing rabbit holes like this one, subscribing is the easiest way to keep them coming. The opportunity costs are already visible. The 2026 budget proposed having F-35A purchases 24 aircraft instead of the planned 48. Across all services, total F-35 orders were cut from 74 to 47. The entire Ayton Warthog fleet is being retired in 2026, 2 years early, with roughly 162 airframes, leaving service and a one-time charge of $57 million. And most dramatically, Congress cut the Navy's FA-XX sixth-generation fighter program by 84% in fiscal year 2026, down to just $74 million. Representative Ken Calvert of California warned that any hesitancy on the Navy program would leave the United States dangerously outmatched in a China fight, and that waiting was not an option. Appropriators eventually reversed course and raised FA-XX funding to $972 million. But the initial signal was unmistakable. A senior Pentagon official told reporters in June 2025 that the department had made a strategic decision to go all in on 47. Then there's the production math itself. A run of 186 aircraft is small by historical standards. It's difficult to keep a hot production line running on those volumes. Unit costs tend to climb rather than fall, and the economies of scale that bring down per aircraft cost over time never fully materialize. Some defense analysts have started calling this the math death spiral, the dynamic where a high unit cost aircraft produced in small numbers becomes progressively less affordable, triggering further cuts, which drive unit cost higher still. The skeptics add one more concern: Boeing's own recent track record. The company has struggled with fixed-price defense programs, including the KC-46 tanker and the T-7 trainer. Its stealth experience is limited compared to Lockheed and Northrop. Simple Flying reported in December 2025 that 47 production was already showing early signs of schedule slippage. Those are serious arguments, made by serious people, with numbers behind them. But here's what the critics can't easily dismiss. China isn't waiting, neither is Russia. And the administration's answer to all of this skepticism is a record-breaking budget request that doubles down. It's 2026. The United States has set a target of 2028 for the 47's first flight and 2029 for initial operational capability, with full fielding across the Air Force through the 2030s. China's J-36 has already been photographed taxiing on a runway. The clock is not theoretical. The international picture has shifted hard in the past 18 months. The Global Combat Air Program, a trilateral effort between the United Kingdom, Japan, and Italy, has pulled decisively ahead of Europe's future combat air system, which has been mired in disputes between France, Germany, and Spain over workshare and technology leadership. That leaves the 47 and GCAP as the two Western sixth-generation programs with serious near-term momentum. China, with the J-20B, J-35, J-36, and the KJ-600 carrier-based airborne early warning aircraft, is on a pace that U.S. officials describe privately as the most aggressive fighter development tempo any country has sustained since the United States in the 1950s. The administration's hedge against the affordability problem is export. The plan, as described in Defense Trade Press, is to offer a toned-down version of the 47 to trusted allies, spread the unit cost across a larger buy, keep the production line warm, and strengthen interoperability with partners who fly alongside American forces in the Pacific and Europe. It's the same playbook that saved F-35 economics, and it's the one serious answer proponents have to the math death spiral critique. So what does all of this actually mean for taxpayers, for the defense industry, for American air power over the next 50 years? Here's what we know for certain. The United States has committed, in writing and in dollars, to building the most expensive crewed fighter jet in history, and then buying nearly 200 of them. Cumulative spending hits roughly $8.5 billion by the end of fiscal year 2027. The lifetime program, once procurement and sustainment are factored in, will almost certainly exceed $100 billion, and credible analyses suggest it could approach $1 trillion over several decades when the collaborative combat aircraft are included. The Department of Defense has already committed $8.9 billion to the CCA program between 2025 and 2029, with more than 1,000 of those autonomous wingmen planned. The industrial footprint is real. 18,000 Boeing jobs in St. Louis, 30,000 indirect jobs across the regional aerospace economy, a new $1.8 billion manufacturing facility, a defense headquarters relocation that reshapes the American defense industrial map for the first time in a generation. The strategic argument is also real. No one who has looked at Chinese fighter production seriously in the past 3 years disputes that a response is necessary. The disagreement is only about which response, at what price, and what else has to be cut to pay for it. And that is the question history will answer. The 47 is simultaneously the most defensible and the most precarious program in modern American defense, resting on a coherent strategic case and an uncomfortable affordability case at the same time. Whether it becomes the backbone of American air power for the next half-century or a cautionary tale about big-ticket procurement without discipline depends on decisions being made right now in budget rooms, in congressional hearings, on a factory floor in St. Louis, and on a runway somewhere in the American Southwest where, by 2028, a jet that has been flying in secret for nearly a decade is supposed to finally show the world what $8.5 billion has actually bought.